Wazzu has forced 5 turnovers through 2 games. And you know what that's done? It's allowed them to flip the game on its head and put everything in their control in both games.
EJ, I think this is a game where he can kind of solidify himself as a potential NFL draft pick because he's going to go up against some solid Chris Hudson's, Kyle Williams. Those receivers are solid. So I think if you see Elijah show up, the edges show up, and you don't see too many times where the safeties are getting burned, then we're going to have success.
All right, dog fans, before we hop into the show, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out, and we appreciate the support. Thanks to our sponsor, Simply Seattle, we'll be picking out one lucky new subscriber to win free Washington Huskies t-shirt and hat. To enter, just subscribe, drop a comment below letting us know that you've done it. You can be out there flexing that new Husky drip, that new Husky swag in no time. Plus, don't forget to check out Simply Seattle's QR code at the bottom of the screen, which will take you directly to their website for all your Washington Husky apparel needs. Good luck. Go Dogs. Thank you for everything.
Welcome to the Dubbed Up Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Flaunt. This week is Apple Cup week. I know it's really weird because it's still the summertime and we're talking about Apple Cup, but it's here nonetheless. This is the new world we're living in. I got my guys Izzo and Noah with me. Fellas, we love rivalries and we've always hated the Cougs. What are we getting into? I'm going to start this one off with you, Izzo. Tell me.
The subsidy bowl here.
The subsidy bowl.
I like that.
It's just funny, man. I'm teasing, but I mean, I'll be straight up. Like I know this is disrespectful, but this is less of a rivalry game than the Cougs are for me. This team with us has been less than competitive in the last like 20 years. I know.
Shots fired.
Hey, this is going to be a better game than those in the past, right? The differential isn't as great. I still see us winning, and we'll talk about why. But at a high level, man, I think the keys for me on this is we got to limit the big play. They got a dual threat quarterback, a guy who's, they scheme to run the football. We thought we saw kind of a pseudo warm up dual threat guy in last week. And this is a true dual threat, quarterback that we're going to have to face. So we got to limit him. We got to limit the deep balls. They've had a lot of, I think Noah and I were talking about it after week 1. We did not notice that they put up 70 points on Portland State in week 1, right? Like, we're not going to skip over that. And when Noah called me, he was like, hey, man, a lot of this is like, I don't know how many yards they put up, but 70, 80% of it was on big plays, was on long passing touchdowns, long runs, stuff like that. So we gotta keep that in check. We got to make this our, I love this theme from Jed, which is him saying that last week has to be the worst week we had. And I think that has to be the case here because there's a sheer, a very obvious step up in athlete and caliber of athlete that we play against in this game. They got some wide receivers that are studs. They schemed the quarterback open well in terms of him running the ball, but also him passing. So those are kind of the things that I want to see. Let's play our game. Let's control the clock. Let's not get crazy. Let's not get overly cute and creative with too many plays. Let's play our game and control the clock and make them play to us, So,
all right. Noah, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, don't think for a minute that Coach Dickert won't, be playing, Washington thinks they're better than you. They're over in Seattle on the water on Lake Washington. Oh, they're making us come over there and play at Lumen Field or whatever Seahawks Stadium's called nowadays. I think it's called Lumen. But I mean, as you said, they had a nice week 1 win versus Portland State. You put a 70 burger on anybody and it'll draw national eyes. Then they beat Texas Tech on Saturday night in a pretty convincing win in Pullman, man. Jake Dicker, he got these boys playing well, man. There's still a little bit of the pirate man on the Palouse with this team. They're still hanging around. It looks like they're playing a little spread. Sometimes it looks like they're playing air raid, and they got this quarterback who'll hit you for 194 yards on the ground. Dude, this is a game where UW needs to control the pace and not turn the ball over. Mm-hmm. And I say that for one reason and one reason only. Wazzu has forced 5 turnovers through 2 games. And you know what that's done? It's allowed them to flip the game on its head and put everything in their control in both games. They did it against Texas Tech. Yeah, Taj Brooks, the big time running back, didn't play for Texas Tech, but that's what flipped the script in both games. Is they get turnovers, they take advantage of those turnovers, and then they go, you can't score with us. So then they end up winning these games. So UW needs to control the pace. UW needs to just come out, freaking hit them in the mouth and say, hey, you're coming to Seattle. And this is our town. So that's what needs to happen for us to really control this game.
Yeah, I agree. When I look at this game and I'm thinking about the maturation of the team and as we grow, what I think this game is going to be perfect for is getting these new players into this mindset of, hey, this is a rivalry game. This is what we do in Seattle when there's a rivalry game. And then having a team that's really pissed off at you and is kind of hot coming in. I think this is a perfect example for us to take that next step up, because every week we've seen us grow. We've had the struggles, but we've seen us grow. And I think this is the next step to getting ready for Big Ten play, because these guys are better than both the teams we played. And I'll tell you what, they handed Texas Tech the rest the other day, and they feel like we left them behind. They have a bunch of motivation to beat us, and this is why it's a big game and it's important. All right, as we dive into the nuts and bolts of the game, I think one of the first things we want to know is, what is UW's offense going to do against this Wazzu defense? Because they looked pretty good against Texas Tech. Izzo, what are you thinking when you're watching what our defense is going to do, or what our offense is going to do against this Wazzu defense?
Yeah, I want to see us, like Noah had said, stick to the game plan. Like I had alluded to, let's not get cute with what we're doing. I want to see us make the adjustment and not come out sloppy like we have in the first quarter of every single game. The first 2 games that we've
Start
played
fast.
Yeah. So don't like be out of rhythm with your scripted drive. Like that's supposed to be a sure thing, right? Like you're supposed to get downfield with that drive. So let's come out and punch them in the mouth early and control the tempo. Mm-hmm. The other thing too is what Wazzu's been despite their blowout wins, they've been pretty poor tackling team in terms of grades, especially at linebacker. They tend to the safeties that they have, they tackle well. They're good in coverage. They play the pass pretty well. But they haven't been challenged with the caliber of athletes that we play. And if I'm looking at their weaknesses versus our strengths on offense, I'm gashing them on the ground, man. I'm going hard after them with a 3-headed monster that we got in the backfield, and letting Jonah Coleman do his thing. Don't run to the right side. If you're more confident in that, if to this point, I think we've run roughly 70% of the rush attack has been to the right side. Don't get creative. Don't try to get too cute. If they want to scheme over, if they want to bring another safety down, so what? We've got road graders on the right side of that offensive line. Get Decker in there, get Kalecki in there to kind of push to match that safety play over the top. Yeah, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
They've got one of their linebackers is just like a side note, Keith Brown. Husky fans will remember he was committed to he was committed to Oregon, pretty vocal against UW in his recruiting class, and then he was in and out of there in 1 year and hopped over to Wazzu. So they've got some guys. They're linebackers. They've got Thornton. They've been solid in coverage, struggled tackling. They don't generate a lot of pressure. So this is another thing too. We should be able to, with sliding over a tackle, if we're going to do this, if we have some concern about Fa Solo and how he can do, get a tight end over on his side as well. And we should have a lot of time. Will should be comfortable in the pocket in this game. And I think what we'll see at the end of the game is how we are kind of seeing some pictures at the timeline of a clean pocket. I expect that we will in this game as well. So I see us putting up quite a bit of points in this game. I'm not overly concerned about their defense. But yeah, we'll have to see. Just stay within your game plan, play to your strengths. Don't get cute. Continue to get Giles Jackson open in space. Continue to set up an effective deep ball to your Denzel Bostons, to your Jeremiah Hunters, and I think we should be able to unleash what we want to do on this defense with Wazzu. So.
Yeah, I really like what you said there, especially with the running it and create, because that creates dominance and that wears those guys down. And I think that's the best way to beat somebody who's on a hot streak.
Yeah.
Noah, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I have in my notes, lean on the run game early and often. Dude, Wazoo's on average giving up 181 yards per game on the ground. And remember what I said. I saw that stat and I wanted to go, oh, well, Taj Brooks must have had a big game. He didn't play in that game. So that's 181 versus the second and third string guys at Texas Tech and Portland State. So this is a game, and Izzo, you said this should be the game that Jonah gets to his third straight 100 yards. And where I see that happening is this week in practice. I really want to see Jed solidify this front five. Man, I know he said he's going to play 7, but man, as you get going, I'm telling you, an offensive line needs to be a cohesive unit. We've seen in these first 2 games when these guys kind of settle down, they kind of, play next to the guy they've been playing with in a couple series. Dude, it gets our running game going, it gets our passing game going, and the rest of the offense starts clicking. And so that's what I want to see this week. Find your 5 best guys, solidify that offensive line, and the rest will take care of itself. And then second, the big thing I want to see is I want to test this Wazoo secondary. Dude, they've given up 13 explosive plays. If people don't know what explosive plays are, it's anything over 20 yards. So they've given up 13 plays already in 2 games. And our big 3 wide receivers, our tight ends, dude, they should be able to absolutely eat in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The secondary, they got a couple guys that can get up and go, but I'm not sure they're like actual like technicians like Jay Rich has our secondary at. And I think they can get got. So I want to see lean on the run early and often and test the secondary with some big plays.
Yep. Really come out and give him that big brother. You know what I'm saying? That's what we want to give him. So, all right, I think what we do offensively, we've kind of started to establish who we are, and I think you're right. That's got to be, we got to impose our will upon them, especially if we want to dominate them like that. Now, as we look towards the other side of the ball, and we start talking about the Wazoo offense and what our defense is going to do against them, they got some playmakers. Their quarterback looked really good in the first 2 games, but not how we would normally think. Noah, when you're looking at this Wazoo offense and how we're going to attack them defensively, what do you see as the primary thing we need to focus on?
I think the primary thing you got to do is contain John Mateer. You got to make him one-dimensional, man. Dude, he was only 9 for 19 passing versus Texas Tech. Dude, you just can't allow him to hurt you with his legs. And dude, as we've gone on, dude, we blitz 45 to 50% of the time on defensive snaps. Dude, that's a load of pressure we bring on these guys, man. And you know what? I'm okay with that. As long as we can continue to do it with the understanding that we know that the quarterback can hurt us with his legs. So we need to make sure we contain the edges, be disciplined up the middle. And you know what? He's not going to hurt us with his arm. I'm sorry, man. Look at his stats. Watch him throw, but he will hurt you with his legs.
Yep.
And why I bring up like our edges being being able to contain, our edges being smart is, dude, Durfee and Ward need to flat out abuse these offensive tackles, man. Both of them play extremely high. They struggle in pass pro. I'm calling them out. Hilborn and Pohl. Dude, they struggled versus Texas Tech. PFF graded them out in the low 60s. Dude, they gave up on 19 pass attempts. They gave up 2 sacks and 2 hurries. Dude, that's atrocious, man. Dude, Durfee and Ward and our defensive ends need to absolutely eat these guys. And dude, last but not least, Wazoo has 17 explosive plays in their first 2 games. Dude, our defense needs to lock that down. Our secondary to our linebackers to up front. Dude, shut this down. No more big explosive plays. Keep everything in front of you. Good tackles. Dude, we'll be in this game. And you'll see in our prediction, man, that we can win this game, and we will.
You know, what you said that stuck out to me was talking about playing discipline, because that's kind of a linchpin to Steve Belichick's defense. And for a quarterback like this, you're right. If they don't have gap integrity, he'll run all over us. Izzo, what do you think when you're analyzing this Coug offense? and our defense, what do you see needing to happen for us to be successful?
Yeah, I'm right there with Noah. I think this starts and ends with the edge play, and specifically with Warden Durfee. And I do think I'm with Noah. I think we should be able to eat these guys alive. And this should be another one of those games where you point to and you're like, yeah, we got to the quarterback a lot. So I'm right there with you on that, especially given the fact, I had mentioned this early on in one of our preview podcasts, but I want to see it where we don't have to worry about him breaking out to one side. I think that was ZTF for us a lot last year, where it's like, hey, if you want to try to go to that side, we know that ZTF has the range and the length and the athleticism to make sure that he's not getting outside of the pocket too much. Specifically, I'm thinking about like the Bo Nix's, how he would bounce out to the right a lot, and ZTF had an okay time basically shutting that down a little bit. So not entirely, but that was kind of who we would lean on. So I want to see that as well. This is going to be a key factor to where I think that if it happens, you can basically assure that the defense is showed up. And that's on drive one. If we can shut that scripted drive down, and like we haven't seen that in the first 2 weeks. Yeah. If we see us shutting down holding gap integrity and shutting down the run for them on the first drive or two, that's going to be a sign that we're doing what we need to. I'm really not worried about the corners in this game. I think if they're going to get an explosive play, which I expect that they probably will, we're not going to get them to 0 explosive plays. I think that they'll probably have that success on a safety. So that to me makes me feel very comfortable with how we're looking against Wazzu, because the sheer fact that we are so physical at corner, I know that's where they're going to try to attack. Like they have to be able to get some explosive plays from the wide receiver, and you're not going to be able to do that as effectively on us with our corners. So Thad, this is a big game for EJ. I think this is a game where he can kind of solidify himself as a potential NFL draft pick, because he's going to go up against some solid Chris Hudson's, Kyle Williams. Those receivers are solid. So I think if you see Elijah show up, the edges show up, and you don't see too many times where the safeties are getting burned, then we're going to have success and keep Wazzu under 25, which I think will be a major tip of the hat.
Okay. And a question for you guys then, because, when we're looking at fast quarterbacks or guys that scramble a lot, could you see us spying him? And if so, who do you see spying him on the defense?
Oh, Cam Fab.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good call, Mike. And Cam Fab, though, I think Cam Fab could spy the hell out of him. And I think Cam Fab, I think he's good enough too, to, if he's going to pass, he can get back into coverage as well. I think he's smart enough. I think he's like that veteran presence we have in the secondary that I would love to see that. A lot of people would do it with a linebacker, but I think Cam Fab's big enough and strong enough to be able to do it.
I don't know if a linebacker is going to be fast enough to get him. And that's why I was thinking, I think they're going to come out and stay in their base and see how it works. And if he breaks 1 or 2, I could see them switching and finding somebody to spy material.
See, I wonder if it is a linebacker that they do stick on him to keep them from getting exposed over the top on a deep ball. Because I wonder if you pull Cam Fab, House would be a great option.
I was just thinking about fast,
Yeah. Because if Mateer is that fast, and it seems like he is, he broke a 69-yard, he's had 21 carries, I think, for how many yards? 252 yards over the first 2 games. He gets outside and I think it makes sense to put a Cam Fab on him, but I wonder if it'll be interesting to watch. I don't have the answer. I could see it being Cam Fab, or I could see them bringing in a guy like House, or just telling Zoe, you know what? Keep an eye on him. We're going to zone you into the middle. But if you see him breaking out to the pocket, you better match him and get to the outside. Or a Bruner, because we know he's got sideline to sideline speed.
Both them guys got wheels, so I could see them.
Yeah, but I hear your guys' point, which is I assume that you're thinking Cam Fab on this because of the sheer speed from Mateer, right?
Yeah.
Is that Mike said that he thinks basically Mateer is probably faster than any of our linebackers. Is that fair to say?
I'll tell you what.
How do you guys think about it?
He was running away from DBs last week against Texas Tech.
Yeah, I I look at it from almost like a three-faceted thought process. Like I think intelligence, speed, and like strength. And I think Cam Fab on our defense. And remember what we said, I think on one of our previews is like the coaches were talking about Cam Fab like 2 years ago, and they're like, dude, we got to do whatever we can to keep this guy off the field. Mm-hmm. And then last year on national, championship, game team, we're like, we can't keep him off the field. I mean, he is making so many damn plays. So it's like, dude, he's turned into a bona fide, like big time, big play player. And it's like, if I need somebody to be like, shut him down, it's like in basketball, we want to go box and one on their best player. Dude,
right.
Give me Cam Fat, man.
It's like if they're seeing success with Mateer outside the pocket, you abandon trying to spy him with a linebacker and you sit Cam Fab on him.
Yep.
Type of thing. I think I agree with that logic there.
And I think you hit him. I think you hit him a bunch because you make him think twice about wanting to run.
Agreed.
Yep.
Okay. I'm with that.
Because we like to come with the force, that dominance. that's how you treat little brother. So
yes.
All right.
I think I got one more thing to say. I'm curious about how Stevie B will, if he's going to maintain the approach that we talked about with the defensive line. Like if he continues to try to specialize, if that's really what's happening, which we think based on which Coach Koo talked to us about with what he did in New England, him specializing defensive line and kind of us probably seeing of that a little bit in the first quarter of each of these first games. Does he stick with that, or does he go, you know what? You guys are the most reliable. We have to deal with a dual threat quarterback here who is true dual threat. We're not going to see too much specializing. I want you guys to establish yourselves and do everything well. I'll be curious to see if that changes, if it's a dual threat quarterback that causes him to make that adjustment, or if it stays the same. Just something to watch out for. That's just a point that I think that will be interesting to key in on.
I agree. I completely agree. I got a question for you guys. Have you ever wanted to walk into Husky Stadium where there's 70,000 people and be the best looking person in the stadium? If you have, make sure you go to Simply Seattle, hit that QR code. Our good friends at Simply Seattle hooked us up and we look great. You see that QR code? Make sure you snap that, go check it out, get all the Husky gear you want, plus Mariners, Sonics, Storm, all that stuff, everything at Simply Seattle.
While you're at it, be sure to check out the Dub Discord community with over 2,700 members. It's the largest organized chat room for all things Washington Husky athletics. You want insider access? Our VIP membership unlocks exclusive chat rooms and rumors you won't find anywhere else. Hit the QR code on the screen and join the conversation today. Go Dogs. Thank you for everything.
All right, guys, let's get into these score predictions and final thoughts before we call this a pod. Guys, we always do the predictions, especially when it comes to rivalry games. Izzo, how do you see this game shaking out on Saturday?
Yeah, I've got UW 37-20. I just think Wazzu is too efficient to shut down entirely. And I think a part of the reason why they've had these explosive plays is because you have to account for their rushing quarterback. The fact that he has the legs to break a 69-yard touchdown run in a game, regardless of who their opponent is. I just think you're not going to get them to zero. I think they're going to score. That being said, I just like Noah had said, I see it the same way. I don't see how they can contain the three running backs that we have. And I do not believe they have seen the caliber of wide receiver that we're going to bring to this game. And I think we have the ability to be too creative on the offensive side with a Giles Jackson and getting him open in space, behind the line of scrimmage. And Will is just too efficient and makes too few mistakes, knock on wood, that they're going to be able to contain us and keep us from scoring on many drives. So I'll go ahead and say 37-20. And we come out of this with another Apple Cup victory.
Okay,
that's my call.
Does anybody know what the spread is? Just out of curiosity.
It opened up at 5 and it's at 4.5 right now.
Okay. All right, Noah, then do they cover?
Man, I said it earlier, this Jake Dicker team, they got a little bit of the mantra, they got the pirate on the Palouse, but the problem is this game ain't on the Palouse. This game's in Seattle. And this is the curse of the Black Pearl.
Ooh.
I got the Dogs 34-23. I just think our defense will be too much for Wazzu to handle. I think our running backs will just absolutely shove it straight up those corn-fed goofballs. And they won't be able to handle the Dogs, baby. So 34-23. Let's wrap.
Oh, new shades.
Ooh.
New shades.
Come on.
All right. All right. I've been watching this team get better incrementally every week. You see some stuff starting off sloppy a little bit and then figuring it out. And I think as we go into taking this step up to some big boy football, I think you're going to see the offense not be as slow as it's been in the beginning and really catch on quick. I think you might see them pop. You might see Wazzu pop one early. So I'm going 42-14 Dogs. Ooh. I think you're going to see our first touchdowns get scored on us, but I think you're going to see us really figure out that balance between the run and the pass because we know it works. We know both of them work well. And I think you're going to see the offense start hitting on all eights as we start moving into Big Ten play. What do you guys think? You guys think I'm whistling Dixie?
No, I mean, hey, if the Stevie B defense, man, Noah and I are both letting Wazzu into the 20s here. Mm-hmm. A team's got to prove it against us, man. You might be onto something by not having them in the 20s.
Hey, we'll see. All right, guys. Any final thoughts before we call it an evening?
Nope. I think we're on a roll, though. I think with our predictions, we've been on a roll. If I'm gonna give us a pat on the back, I think we said we didn't see them coming into we didn't see Eastern Michigan coming in and getting into the red zone too often. If not for a blocked punt, I think they would have been in the red zone only a couple times in that game. So, Stevie B, keep doing your thing, baby. Let's clean it up on offense in the first quarter.
Papa Belichick will be on Montlake this week, game planning for this QB.
Oh yeah,
we love it.
We gonna shut him down, boys. So
all right. Before we get out of here, I just want to make sure you guys go join the Discord. Like I said, it's the QR code below or the link is in the bio. Like I said, the best Husky community. If you're looking for that kind of community, people to talk dogs with, because we're all dog fans at heart, there's no better place for that in real life or on the internet. So for Izzo, for Noah, I'm Mike Flaunt, and this is the Dubbed Up Podcast. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. All right.